either the demand or the supply. Anytime there's an inequality, we have problems in the system. If demand is more than supply, you have doomsday. If supply is more than demand, you would have to shut down some power plants. So 24/7, every second of the day, there is somebody at the control center ensuring that demand and supply is equal. And that is the function of what you see there as ETU, the electricity transmission utility. So Gridco is carrying two hats, actually, the ETU and the transmission asset owner. Next slide. Beginning from 2008, when we were set up, we had only 2 generating companies in Ghana. As at now, we have 14 generating companies, including IPPs, independent power producers. They have confidence to invest in Ghana because Gridco provides open access. So wherever you are, you site your generators, you can do business with any bulk customer anywhere in Ghana. So Gridco guarantees that open access in a fair manner. Currently, as a country, the number of power plants, installed capacity we have, is in the excess of 5,200 megawatts. So a watt is a unit of electricity. So sometimes you have your lamps, your light, they say it is 10 watts. We have installed over 5,200 megawatts. Megawatt means million watts in Ghana. And it comprises VRA and other IPPs. Now with these plants, we have hydro plants which use water like Akosombo, Bui, or Pong, and the others are thermal plants which use fuel. And the fuel, we have gas, and we have some using heavy fuel oil. In some cases, we use crude oil. In order to send this power to the bulk customers, as I said, it has to go through transmission lines. Currently, we have installed over 6,400 circuit kilometers of transmission lines throughout the country and indeed beyond the borders of Ghana. And some of these lines are equipped with the fiber optics I was telling you about to enable us also carry out the communication functions. At the moment, we have 31 bulk customers, and these include the big mining companies, some big industries like Valco or Aluex, and the likes. The highest demand pull from the system that we've ever recorded was 3,206 megawatts. It means the demand from all of us, our factories in our homes, totaling 3,206 megawatts. And that's the highest we've ever gotten to. And demand keeps changing day by day, hour by hour. It depends on, for instance, the temperature. If it is very cold, like in July, August, people switch off their fans, their ACs, so the demand plummets. But in these times when the weather has gotten warm, we see the demand increasing. So in August, our highest demand was like 2,700. Last Friday, the peak demand was about 3,100 because people feel warm and they have to cool themselves. I want to show you the next slide. The graph that we are going to see is a graph which shows a comparison of the peak demand, the highest demand. Don't worry about the figures, you are not seeing the figures. But what you are seeing here is from 2008, the red, the very red, to the brown on your right, the 2021. So you see the constant growth in demand, which means that year on year, we need to make available more power to meet this demand. And it will keep growing. This demand, the growth that you are seeing, if you compare it with GDP growth in Ghana, you see that it is almost the same gradient. So this is linked with economic activity. If you see the period 2013, 2014, that is the light blue line, green and light blue now, it was almost flat. That was serious doom, so we were not growing. And it impacted on the economy. If you don't have electricity, enough electricity, you can't drive the economy. And I'm sure if you go to the GDP data, you will see it reflected here. So we all have to work in a way to ensure that we don't enter into such a period again, because we have to continue to grow if we want to see people being employed, people working, people enjoying quality power at their homes. Now it's 3,200. Between 2008, which is 1,400, to 2018, 2019, 2,800, which means that in a period of 10 years, Ghana doubled its demand. It is possible, if we continue to grow our economy, the demand in the next 10 years could be more than 6,000 megawatts. Let's go on. So let's jump onto the project. This gives a summary of the transmission project. I'll go into the details later. So we have the second major transmission line from south to north, from Abuazi right way to Bolgatanga in the north, and indeed crossing over to Burkina Faso. That has been completed at a cost of around $200 million, and we had funding loans from AFD, World Bank, Korean Investment Bank, and the like. So this year, we finally completed everything. Number two are the improvement of power supply in Greater Accra region. Accra Tema alone, we are consuming about 40% of Ghana's demand. So it is very high. If we don't reinforce the system here, it becomes difficult to stabilize the system. So there's been a lot of injection that we are doing in Accra Tema alone. So we have the Accra Central Bulk Supply Point, which was funded by JICA, Japan, in October 2018. Then the Pokwasi Bulk Supply Point I mentioned about, also completed. It was a MEDA grant at a cost of $47 million. Kasua Bulk Supply Point, which is ongoing, also a MEDA grant at a cost of $43 million. And the reconstruction of the transmission lines, which we came to you last July about the outages. The reconstruction of these major transmission lines between Accra and Tema. You know, there's a lot of generation in Tema, and these have to be evacuated to Accra. So if you are driving along the motorway from Accra to Tema on the left side, you see all these activities on these transmission lines. And these are costing us about $70 million. And then we have an upgrade of a transmission line in Kumasi. I'll give you the details later. And that is an EU grant of almost $7 million. And we hope to complete that in March 2023. So all these are required in order to ensure that outages to customers are minimized. Customers want quality services. We want to improve upon our transmission line capacities. And we do that because we are planning the system in such a way so that should any part of any transmission line go off as a result of maintenance or there is a fault on it, the customer should not even sense it because the remaining can easily evacuate it. So that is the essence of we increase the transmission line capacities. And as you add more lines, your losses reduce. And losses come at a cost. So like the YAM example I was giving, can you imagine the truck is coming and the truck is hasn't gotten the protection around it and the yams keep falling away? Somebody will have to pay for that. And apart from the lines too, we are constructing substations and installing transformers to increase the transformation capacity in Ghana. Pokwase BSP. This was recently commissioned by the President. The objective was to construct a 330 kV bulk supply point in Accra, and that was going to be the first 330 kV kilovolts bulk supply point in the northern part of Accra to provide additional power to ECG customers around Pokwase, Kwabinya, in Sawam, and that area. And this is to improve upon the quality of supply to northern Accra and generally the Accra metropolis. With Pokwase, we have another backup to the existing substations in Accra. The first was Achimota, which is Adwoulu. Then we have Malam. Then we have the third bus supply point, which is near the Adjingano. And then we have the Accra Central. And then now we have Pokwase. So with these installations, it means that if one of the stations is down, other stations can come in to supply so that we can keep on servicing our customers. So the substation was constructed by breaking into the 330 kV transmission line from Aboase to Tema. And when we were doing that breaking, I don't know if you recall it, but we had to come back to customers to ask for more than a week's outage because you are taking down a major transmission line which was going to affect power supply. And maybe let me use this opportunity to thank citizens of Accra for bearing with us during these difficult times in July. The works were completed and Pokwase is now online. So it is working as it's supposed to do, and anytime a substation is down, unknown to you, sometimes Malam is down because we are doing another project, but customers are not feeling the impact of that because what? Pokwase, ECG has been able to take up Malam's load and put it on Pokwase. So customers still continue to enjoy power supply despite the losses in other areas of it. The next slide, please. Then there's the project I talked about, the transmission line from the south of Ghana through Kumasi, Kintampo, Tamale to Bolgatanga, and then crossing the Bolga, crossing the border to Zaktuli in Burkina Faso. And this is a 330,000 volt line, 330 kV. Our transmission lines used to be 161,000. That's what we started in 1965 as part of the Akosombo project, and we extended it. Now we've grown. We've seen that that is too small for us. We've doubled it to 330,000. And that is reinforcing the Ghana power system. So because of that, we are strong enough now to even send power to Burkina Faso, sometimes in excess of 100 megawatts. Last week we met with them and they said, Ghana, we need more power, so make it available. And that can only happen if we can supply ourselves more effectively and efficiently. And that is what we are doing. And one advantage the line brings is that it stabilizes, especially in the middle belt, Kumasi, Kintampo area. It stabilizes the power system there. If you live in Kumasi, you understand it. Somewhere between April and July, Kumasi had a big challenge because of this problem. But now, because we've completed the line, we are able to guarantee reliable supply to that part of the country. As I said, the project was funded by AFD, World Bank, Korea Investment Bank, totaling over $200 million. And we believe that even going into the future, as consumption increases, the impact of that line will still continue to be felt in the form of stable power supply to Ghanaians, even in the central parts and northern parts of Ghana. Accra Central BSP. The next slide. Okay, so Accra Central is a major hub, and we used to evacuate power only to either Achimota or Adringano, and then ECG had to take that power, that heavy amount of load, all towards Accra Central. And this was accompanied by heavy losses. So there was wisdom to construct a bulk supply point within that business district of Accra, and we were able to do that with the help of JICA, and it happened to be the first, what we call the gas insulated substation in Accra at that voltage, 161 volts. It's a small piece of land, but we were able to fit in that high capacity substation to enable ECG send power to its customers within the central business district at lower losses. So in view of that, outages to the central business district have reduced actually. We don't need to send power all the way from Achimota or Adringano. Now it's right at the business hub. So this has reduced outages considerably. We are now seeing the benefits of the project. We are still on Accra Central. We've seen the benefits of the project in terms of lower number of outages, loss reduction, and it also enhances operational flexibility. So that in case of even outages in certain parts of the cities, that substation can also help to meet load. So that's the operational flexibility it brings in. Then we have Kasoa BSP, Kasoa Bulk Supply Point. On the way to Winneba at Kasoa is on the left side. This substation currently, let me give you the currently, Kasoa, you know how Kasoa is. Kasoa is now, you can't say it's big, it's huge and sprawling. The demand in Kasoa is now very high. And currently, ECG is supplying Kasoa substation from our Malam substation in the western part of Accra. And you can imagine the distance from Malam to Kasoa. Now we are bringing the bulk supply point to Kasoa. This substation is going to be equipped. Okay? It's going to be equipped with quality enhancing gadgets. I don't want to mention the complex, but to ensure that power supply is stable, the voltages are the best, and the Kaswa and its environs will no longer suffer that perennial problem of outages and low voltages, that you have to make sure that you switch on your some lights as early as possible, otherwise they won't come on and things like that. This is going to resolve all these problems. The project is ongoing, and we are expecting that by this, maybe January, I should say January, that station will also be commissioned. And then there's the ongoing major transmission activities between Accra and Tema. We haven't finished yet, but because we have finished the first part, the remaining parts will not require those outages we came and begged you for. So the projects will be going on, all right, but customers will not feel the brunt of it, I should say. So they are still ongoing. In the area of consultancy, RICO is into engineering and project management, operations and maintenance support, and capacity building. And as I'm talking to you now, a number of countries come to see us for assistance. I'm talking of West African countries, and we
Accra metropolis? And thirdly, what is the power supply situation in Kumasi currently? And then the last one, what is the impact of all the projects being undertaken by Gridco on the economy and the citizenry? Okay, so we'll go to engineer for his responses to these questions. And please, if you have any questions or follow-up questions, we will take them in the second set. Okay, engineer, please.
Thank you very much for these questions. It just tells me that you were really listening. That's good. Emmanuel asked about finances. Indeed, nothing moves without cash. All these that I mentioned, you saw that I added some financial figures, so it requires money. We provide services to our transmission customers, and from them we get some money for payment. Our major transmission customer is ECG, as you rightly mentioned. In fact, so far as statistics concerned, in terms of customer, ECG is about 70% of Ghana's demand. NETCO, somebody mentioned NETCO. NETCO is about 10%, and the rest are. So it means that a lot of money has to come from ECG. We had challenges some years back, but if you may have heard, now the cash waterfall mechanism is in place. So what that mechanism does is that when we, all of us, we pay our bills, and we are supposed to pay our bills. When we pay our bills, these are collected in a basket, and depending on the entity and the activity and the cost, there is an agreed ratio or percentage, and the monies are disbursed as such. So things are better now in terms of cash flow, though we always want more, because indeed when you are doing this business, you need a lot of money to ensure that tomorrow you can meet the customer's need, and you need more money to do that. So we are thankful that the cash waterfall mechanism is in place and is working, and we will work to improve upon it so that we'll be financially sustainable. And I believe it is not only for Gridco. It's a concern for everybody in the sector, even as far back as the gas sector, because it's the gas which gives the generators the input. So a lot of work is being done to ensure that the energy sector is viable, so that we all continue to work to guarantee supply going into the future. Obed asked about power theft in NETCO. I believe you mentioned NETCO because there was a story on NETCO quite recently. There's also, ECG is also having a share of power theft. Fortunately for Gridco, you can't steal Gridco's power. The voltages are so high that if you attempt anything, you will fry even before you even think of it. So we don't have that problem. That problem is peculiar to distribution companies. So that's why NETCO and ECG are fighting that front. Encroachers. That is a big challenge. You've seen or observed people practically living under our transmission lines. Some time back, we cleared from Adringano, East Legon, through to Fiesta Royale. You try to clear, and before you know it, it starts growing up again. But this is something we are still working on. Sometimes it borders on the security of our staff. So we are now working with national security to make sure that we nip this in the bud. This has to be resolved. and maybe let me use this platform, Honorable Minister, to appeal to Ghanaians. We are talking of 161,330,000 votes. The 220 votes, ordinary 220 votes in our homes, that can kill you easily. So you can imagine thousands of votes. If any, thank God, the incidents that have happened so far, they happen in the bush. But if a line is to fall, they can't even make you out. You'll be charged. Don't stay under the transmission lines. So this is my appeal to Ghanaians. Please don't stay under the transmission lines. We thank all those good citizens who have been sending us pictures and images reporting for us to attend to these issues in terms of inquiry and work on them. We thank everybody, and we appeal to you to continue to send us this information so that we can act on them quickly. So it's work ongoing, and we are now working with national security on that. Impact of Pokwase and Kasoa. Kasoa is not yet completed, but as I said, when it is finished, it means that ECG will not have to transport all the power from Malam to Kasoa. Kasoa will now have its own bulk supply point. The beauty about Pokwase substation is that, as I said, we had a transmission line from Abuazi all the way to Tema, but the demand is in Accra. So when the power goes to Tema, it then reverses back to Accra. What Pokwase is doing is that it is bringing the power right to Accra. And when it does that, losses are reduced because you don't have to go to Tema and return. So that is the beauty of Pokwase. And then secondly, the Pokwase now is the biggest substation we have in Ghana. So to the extent that if we have challenges, even at Malam, ECG is able to supply Malam load from Pokwase so that the people of Malam will not have to suffer outages. So that is what Pokwase brings about, the effectiveness and then the flexibility of operations to ensure that customers are rightly served. Kumasi, gone are the days when from 2 p.m., March, April, May, June, July, half of Kumasi will have to go down. Otherwise, the entire system will collapse. And it was consistent every day. That was a big issue. I mean, if you were living in Kumasi, the discomfort in the midst of heat. Following the completion of the entire stretch of the 330 kV circuit, that problem has been resolved. We don't have to take off Kumasi consistently. So that is the change that has come to Kumasi. But as I told you, we are not resting on our horse. We still need to invest in Kumasi because Kumasi is like the center of Ghana. So when Kumasi catches cold, Ghana coughs. So we have to make sure supply in Kumasi is well stabilized. And that is what we've done, but we'll continue to do to ensure increased reliability even as we go on in the years. Impact on the economy. I mentioned when I showed you the graph, and I said, this graph is just parallel to GDP growth. If you don't have electricity, you can't drive the economy. This is what hairdressers, welders, name it, everybody is using for their businesses. So we have to make sure that it is reliable. So once we are improving upon reliability, what is going to happen is that we are going to see improvement in the economy because now people have the sense that the lights will stay on. And also investor confidence. When somebody wants to invest in Ghana in terms of maybe constructing factories. The first thing the person is looking at is there reliable power supply. I was in Burkina last week with some of our neighbors, and we were complaining that some factories moved from their country to Ghana because of what? Electricity. So when we ensure that we have stable, reliable power, it encourages investors to even come into the country. So that, in short, is what I'll say about the impact on the economy. It can be numerous, because when you look at unserved energy, when we can't supply, when there is doom, so the impact is so massive on us. That is why I was saying that we should never go back to that era. Now it is constant power all the way, and we need to ensure that.
Thank you so much, Engineer Makba. Please, we'll take the last set of questions, if any. Okay, so we'll take 1, 2, and 3.
My name is John Awuni. In the past, Institute for Energy Securities blamed GridCo for poor maintenance and upgrade of your transmission stations. Going forward, from today, will you assure us that henceforth such issues of non-maintenance and then upgrade of your system is something now in the past? Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll take Nana's question and then take the last question from the back.
My name is Kingsley from the Custodian. My question is, in spite of the improvement in power supply system, some areas within the Accra Metro still experiences low voltage, or what we call low current. So has this come, this especially during the peak period, which is in the evening, has it come to notice of GridCo? If yes, what is GridCo doing about that? Thank you.
Please, did you get the question? Okay, so we'll take the last question from the back.
Thank you. I'm Fred from ABC News. Mine has to
ABC?
ABC
Okay.
News. Mine has to do with the debt owed GridCo. As of 2017, that's according to the Auditor General report, over 230 million Ghana cedis debt were owed GridCo. I want to know the status, what has been recovered, and what's the processes so far in recovering these debts.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Please, any question? This is the last set of questions, so if anyone has a question, kindly show by hand before we go for the responses. Okay, thank you.
Poor maintenance. I think that was by Mr. Awuni. Right. Do I get it? Okay. That has taken me by surprise, because GridCo is one of the companies which does not joke with maintenance. We have every year scheduled maintenance activities, and we ensure that we abide by them. In fact, we are even monitored. We have regulators who monitor us. And we ensure that that maintenance culture, we always adhere to it. We've had challenges with upgrade of system in the past. But those challenges had to do with securing adequate finance for the projects. But eventually we got around it, and we've now started the upgrades. We've finished some of them. So it wasn't that we folded our hands and we didn't want to upgrade. But we needed to get the necessary financing to ensure that the upgrades going forward will be carried out. And you can see evidence of that. So maintenance, we are very serious about maintenance activities. Low voltages in certain areas. You know, when I showed you that picture, which shows generation, transmission, and then bulk customers. In effect, what we are telling you that even as we are seated here, we have the ACs on. That this AC is directly connected to Akosombo or Pontema plant, or we are all hooked up together. Any challenge in any part of this system can be felt by the customer. Okay. So in some cases, the low voltage can be as a result of the transformer in your locality. Okay. So if that transformer is overloaded during peak time, from 6 p.m., you will begin to have a dimming of your lights, and some of your gadgets will not work well. So in that case, your first report it to ECG. If ECG is cleared, then ECG will come to GRIDCO and say, Achimota substation, there's low voltage. Then we'll know how to work it. But so far, we have good voltages across the system. Debt. The finance situation is something across the system. One of the ways we are addressing it, as I mentioned, is the cash waterfall mechanism, which has improved collections dramatically. It's really improved. So the situation is better. But we are not there yet. Okay. I believe, was it yesterday, I saw a clip where the president was mentioning the fact of the renegotiations with some of the generators in terms of the cost of electricity that generate. These are all means to address these problems. We haven't finished yet. We are working together with Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Finance, and the government on this. So I can't comment that much on. It's something that is ongoing, but we are in a better situation now because of the mechanism that is in place for us to collect our monies. We are in a way better situation now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer Ban, for the insightful presentation this afternoon. At this juncture, we draw the curtain on today's press briefing and hope to meet you same time next week on Wednesday. So I would like to thank the Honorable Deputy Minister for Energy and Member of Parliament for Efija Kwabris South Constituency, Honorable William Oreku Edu, Engineer Daniel Amate, Acting Chief Executive Officer and the Director, Southern Network Services, Directors from Ghana Great Company, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the media, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Bye for now.